thought there was only two. But that's good, but I know that I know they call it one of the children's. I know there's only two.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming to honor our father and support us. As we lay him to rest today, each of us had our own unique relationship with him, shaped by our individual experiences. Yet there was one truth that we all share: his unwavering love and dedication to his family. He was a wonderful husband, a great father, and a doting grandfather. He loved to do many things: eating, traveling, fishing, riding horses, scuba diving, and so much more. But most importantly, he loved to do everything with family and his brother. Together, we shared countless family adventures, including holiday celebrations, backyard barbecues, trips to Disney, beach vacations, overnight horseback riding adventures, and so much more. Our dad was happiest when we were all together. Each of us know that no matter what we are going through, no matter what mistakes we make, and the challenges we face, we can turn to him. He would be there to help us get through the toughest of times. Our dad had a way of making us feel safe and supported, even in the most difficult moments. He was a steadfast presence in our lives and unwavering foundation that we could lean on when we needed it most. Our dad had a heart for helping others too. He would do everything he could to support people in need, whether it was a struggling family member, an employee who had all of their Christmas gifts stolen, or a stranger lying in the grocery who just needed help buying essentials. His kindness and generosity extended far beyond his family, and he taught us the importance of compassion and lending and connecting those who really needed it. He was a loving grandfather, sharing a special needs bond with each of his 6 grandchildren. He would call each of the 3 of us curious to know what our kids had planned for the day, with hopes that he could pick one of them up and they would then do whatever they wanted to do. His grandchildren are his legacy, and each of them will carry a part of him with them always.
Our dad was curious about life and had many passions, including cars, motorcycles, technology, nature, and animals. Our lives were filled with dogs, parrots, fish, and horses. He had a deep love for animals and passed that on to each of us. One of my most cherished memories was riding horses with my dad. We often reminisce about the thrill of dropping the reins and feeling horses down at full speed ahead. The wind in your face, the freedom of that moment. These last years, moments took so much. His independence and vitality among them. But now I'd like to figure out where reality once again. I'm go straight against your face and you right off. We want to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude to Shar, caregivers. During this toughest moments, they helped us live life with dignity and grace, providing them with compassion and support. They helped to face the challenges of prayer. Deeply grateful for your kindness. Mom, for an awe, waiting care card. Patience and grace you display are an example to us all. Your strength and dedication through every difficult moment, your kindness and unwavering love will be the lasting impact on each of us. Thank you for sharing. Today, our work that we all the strategies gave us Spirit of God, thank you, Dad, for teaching us to cherish life, to embrace family, to be in all this around us. We love you. We know you're out there. Yeah.
You know that many of you heard me say this before, some not. There is one piece of literature that is used throughout history in a moment like this. It's the words of the 23rd Psalm. People always expect it. The question is, what did King David have in mind when he was writing this song? He's the author of the book of Psalms. I learned from one of my professors that when King David was writing this psalm, he had advice to give the warriors. And the advice was very simple. Walk through that valley of the shadow of death. Don't get stuck in it. And so many people do. He would want you to walk through that. He would want you to think about all of the things that he did and how it was influencing your life. So we're going to call upon the band to chant the psalm, and then we'll read it together. You have it with you. Let's sing.
Psalm 23, we read together. God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures. Leads me beside the still waters, and restores my soul. Lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God.
Not every family has the opportunity to such a close relationship. Well, my family does. Choice. It's family choice. So I'm calling out for the case for the family's rabbi. Choice.
Should be running around the edge of Lemon Springs. Well, the Lord, you have been our refuge from generation to generation. Before the mountains were born, before the earth was fashioned, from eternity to eternity, you are everlasting. But man, you crumble to dust. Say, return, the mortals, 1,000 years are in your sight as a passing day, an hour of a night. On so many levels, this period of time has been filled with trauma and sorrow and loss. For our people, Israel, for our country and our personal lives, so many of us have had to navigate difficulties and loss. For Benny, these past number of years have seen his freedom restricted and his world narrowed as a result of illness and increasing dependency. Despite the significant discomfort and frustration that he endured over these past years, his final weeks were marked by clarity and courage and the ever-present love of family, elements that shaped his life. With a loving mother, Bernice, and a strong father, Robert, the seeds of his resilient spirit were sown. As a child, then he overcame polio, but the seeds most survived. He grew up with his younger sister, Joyce, and his brother, Greg, and the influences of grandparents and extended family. His maternal grandfather, Pablo, was particularly influential on Denny. Denny would often drive his grandfather and undoubtedly learned life lessons on what it meant to fix the things people were dependent upon and needed care of. Denny understood that parts of his family perished in the Holocaust, and at an early age developed a patriotic spirit for America and a commitment to Israel. He proudly served in the National Guard as an MP in Korea for a period of time, as well as locally at Buckley and Lowry Fields. As with all his contemporaries, Denny married young. He and Barbara have been married 58 years. Denny and Barbara's first date was up at Blackhawk, Central City, attending the opera. All right, those of you, his contemporaries in this room, and how many of you took your spouse on a first date to the Central City Opera? I suspect very few of you. Denny's adventurous spirit, shaped by fishing and horseback riding with his father, meeting people around the world with ham radio, was ever present. His unbounding curiosity, Epicurean taste, and hard work define much of Denny's life. Professionally, Denny got his start digging ditches for his father. And while college wasn't for him, Denny would become the youngest licensed commercial contractor in the state of Colorado. Denny loved fixing things and building and essentially solving big different problems. His skills were developed by watching and learning. He was a protege's protege and mentor, and he was mentored by the best. Denny would discover his passion for building and became a first-in-class, honest builder delivering quality product for a fair price. And work became an extension of more important values: loyalty, earnestness, and family commitment. Then he would work first with his father and side by side his brother-in-law Gary, his brother Greg, his dear friend and colleague Chuck, and his sons Kevin and Michael. Outside of work, though, Denny's interests flourished, in part because of a tremendously supportive and unwavering wife who supported, I would say, most of the interests. The birds might have followed slightly out of that. His childhood interests of horses blossomed anew, and Denny's curiosity and perhaps a bit of impulsiveness saw him not just embrace new technology, but often jumped headfirst into it. Denny was the first person I knew with a mobile phone, if that's what you can call it, which mine weighed about 120 pounds and required 2 people to carry it. I think it was called the brick. When he got into photography, I recall he didn't buy a camera. He stopped at an equipment room that made photojournalists at the Denver Post envious. And cars, if you know Denny, you know his love of cars. Aside from his family and meals out, I'm not sure that Denny had any greater joy than a brand new car. He never drove a car to a point in which it needed new tires or a new battery. I'm pretty sure that there was truth to the joke that if his car needed to be washed, just traded it in. Interests included motorcycling with Barbara on the back, RVing for a few years, lots of pets, including fish, birds, and his many, many beloved dogs. And Debbie loved eating white bread, and mandarin oranges, and sweets of all kind, fast food, quality food, and I think really anything in between. With a bit of obsessiveness, or a bit of obsessive need for order, the Hayutin refrigerator, situated in the most meticulously organized garage in the state of Colorado, was perfectly stocked and organized with every imaginable type of soda. Many of us loved going to the Hayutin house, mostly because, well, it was fun and wonderful. We got and drinks, lots of things that were allowed to us. Many of us here moved in a small town. Was it called a Havarah back there? I just knew it was the best of friends. Hayutins, Solomons, Percheks, sure I'm missing a few, Streers, of course. On Saturday nights, Barbara and Betty, my folks, and many couples here went out together. You'd think that they had enough, but on Sundays, they were often filled with barbecues at Barbara and Betty's, or dinner out at a restaurant that could hold all of us, and our travels included regular trips to Glenwood Springs, mind you, the greatest place on earth. Usually with Denny smeared with oil and baking in the sun. Sometimes Keystone, a trip to Wyoming, to Disney World, and so often during these trips, Denny was in the driver's seat. Actually, I always remember Denny driving. And driving that enormous Suburban with Barbara, often my mother, on the way back, making sandwiches, and a pack of kids in the middle, rambunctious and on the verge of being dropped off somewhere along the road. The stories we could tell. Even when some of us got in trouble, there was a sparkle in Denny's eyes. While quiet and seemingly aloof, Denny was always observing, often through a prankster's lens, and always interested. Being together, enjoying family and friends, curiosity and adventure, they were consistent themes. And in later years, if one of the kids called for a bite to eat, all the kids would be called. It became a family outing, precious time with his children and grandchildren. Denny's many interests in his first-class taste were simply a means to the ever-important company he found. And so, it was in these final difficult weeks. Dennis was tired, was in pain, and his lifelong resilience was fading. Gathering his family, Dennis shared his wishes and made it known to his doctor that he was done fighting and wanted to go home. Told he would likely pass within a month, Denny accepted his fate. Barbara, Kevin, Michael, Danny, who honored his wishes. Grandchildren, siblings, friends, he cared for Denny during these difficult days. And through the loving, tender care of his caregivers, Char, George, and Charles, hospice workers, Denny's final steps were girded by deep love and devotion. Very few people choose their end, and even fewer are given the grace for that wish to be fulfilled. Et li chod, vet li shpok. Vet spod, vet li chod. Our tradition tells us that there is a time to weep and a time to laugh and a time to mourn and a time to dance. Denny knew the pain of illness and loss and embraced each moment available for laughter and joy. In the words of his brother-in-law, Dennis lived a great life. He loved family and he loved living. May we honor him for all that he brought to our lives. Match days of sorrow, days of joy, equal the years we have suffered. Then your servants will see your power, then your children will know your glory. The favor of the Lord our God be upon us. He will establish the work of our hands. The work of our hands he will surely establish. Let us say, amen.
And dear friends, look at just a few moments to that. All these wonderful, wonderful words of praise, words of remembrance, words of inspiration about special God. And whether it was as a husband, or a father, or a grandfather, or a brother, or just as a friend, he had a tremendous impact on the lives of those who cared about him. And that's why all of us are here. I know that this is a bittersweet moment, as so often happens. You can all think back about the deaths of loved ones. You can think about the fact that sometimes they die and we're sorrowful when they die. And then you think about it also and say, maybe death came as a friend. Maybe death did come as a friend to Eddie because he was suffering. And so sometimes this moment is a moment of bittersweetness, and I would say this especially to the grandchildren who aren't here. I know they'll hear this. Truth is, yes, there's bitterness when you lose somebody you love. And he was too young. Trust me, I know what that means. He was too young. And yet, he didn't stop. And you watch him these last days and weeks. Each of you in your own way prayed for this one. And yet feel so guilty by praying for this moment. And that's what this bittersweetness is about. He has no relief from the pain that he has had in many, many illnesses and maladies of his life. That's what this moment is about. Because when we think about him, think about these words. We can rob death of its ultimate victory by living life as long as it is ours. And all of the things that you guys said about him, that's how he robbed death of its ultimate victory. He should have died years ago, even when he was a child and he had polio. How many kids who were my age when I was a young person died of polio? He did not. And so he robbed death of its victory by living life. And whether it was the horses or the dogs or the cars, whatever it was that he cared about, he lived it. And when you look back at your relationships, especially family, when you look back at those relationships, you can't help but understand that he did not allow those maladies and those difficulties to stop him. But the other day I was looking out the backyard and in front as well. I was touched. Yeah, plantings, everything was beautiful, but I was touched by those beautiful, beautiful sculptures in the backyard of the because they brought out the best in human beings. And I'd like to think that that's what he tried to do with his life, with his years. First thing you guys said to me yesterday when we met is, he was a perfectionist. Somebody said, a little bit OCD. Yeah, he probably was, a little bit OCD. But he was a perfectionist. And not just for himself. He wanted the family to learn what he had done. And not to get it from him, just to get it. He wanted you to learn by doing some things yourselves, to make yourselves better. And that's the gift that he gave him. Yes, he loved his Jewish roots, and he loved the state of Israel. He was a true Zionist in so many ways. He cared about those things. He cared about making sure that his family would have strength, that they would have resilience, and that they would have an understanding how to do things to make things better for the next generation. I believe that our task in being here today is yes to remember who he was, and to remember how he was a part of our lives. Some people in a very intimate way, and some people, more distant way. He was a part of our lives. And it happens very often that this chapel gets filled with somebody who's 80 years old. But it's full. And that's because he had friends. So I don't think that this is just a day of family to me. I think it's a day for all of us in some way or another to understand who he was to us, to pass that on to the next generation. And I say that especially to grandchildren. There'll be another generation of people in this family. Not yet. There'll be another generation. Barbara's looking at me like, oh, not. There will be another generation. But it will be up to you to teach them who he was, to keep him alive, to give him that immortality that he so richly deserves. I hope and pray for each of you, his brother, his sister, his wonderful grandchildren, his children, and those whom you have brought into this family. You are. There's nothing wrong with 58 years. It's a long time. Joys, for sure, and sorrows, fulfillments and disappointments, laughter and tears are part of this 50. You find those memories. I want to finish with beautiful, beautiful word. And I think it's true. There are stars up above. So far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with the people that we love. Memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. Stars that light up the darkest night. These are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways. Each of you find that strength to remember who he was, to remember how he lived in so many different ways. That God teach that to the next generation. Nine Lakat. Nine time. Nine of God has given it. God has taken away. Praise be the name of God. Honor and praise. Let's all sit together. As you are able, I would ask you please to rise for the first reading of the word. God full of compassion, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence. Then is Hayutin, is entered into eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings. And let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be thou his possession. May his repose ever be peace. Let us all sit together. and gentlemen, it doesn't include our service here at Temple's annual, we will have burial at the annual cemetery. We do have an escort procession today, so if you'd like to join us in that procession or the trip to the cemetery, we'll ask you to return your car as quickly as possible. Have your hazards on, that will help identify you as being a participant in the procession. Please watch out for outside traffic, watch out for the car in front of you, don't allow others into our procession if you are people. But again, we'll ask you to return your cars as quickly as possible, start lining up using this. If you're not going to the cemetery, we can ask you to give way to those who are, allow them to get to their cars, pull out and start lining up. If we can just hold back a minute or two. What is most important is that please don't come forward and try to speak with the family and express your condolences. It will delay their process of getting to the cemetery. At this time, I'd like to ask everyone to rise once again and invite the holders.